Hey, Falcons fans. If you want to stay up to date with all the news, updates and developments about our team, you're in the right place. Here, you'll find everything about the Atlanta Falcons, with content made especially for our fans. So, don't waste any more time. Subscribe to the channel right now and activate the bell to receive all notifications firsthand. And, of course, leave your like to strengthen our incredible community of Falcons fans. Get ready, because we're bringing you hot and exclusive news. Now let's get to today's news. Report: Falcons trying to squeeze Browns with Kirk Cousins. The Cleveland Browns are in the market for a veteran quarterback. For months, they've been linked to Kirk Cousins. Now, it looks like they'll have to be very aggressive if they really want him. According to a report from Charles Robinson via Yahoo Sports, the Atlanta Falcons are trying to squeeze the Browns by potentially activating Kirk Cousins' $10 million 2026 bonus, which is due on March 17th. They know the Browns want to bring in another quarterback to balance the position, and Cousins would be the most familiar option, having worked with coach Kevin Stefanski, and the best value for money if he were to be released by Atlanta. The way out here is to offer some kind of asset that the Falcons would be happy with, at which point they would trade Cousins and pay most, if not all, of his 2025 salary. And the target appears to be the Browns, Robinson said. Cousins is a logical fit for the Browns. He knows Kevin Stefanski, who was his offensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings. Likewise, he should make an effort to reunite with Stefanski, as it may be his best chance to prove he still has a lot to offer. However, the Falcons have no real incentive to release him. They would still have to pay his salary, so they would be better off keeping him as a backup to Michael Penix Jr. As committed as they are to Penix, he is young and injury-prone, so it wouldn't hurt to keep Cousins around as a mentor and insurance policy. That's why they may not be in a rush to make a deal to move Cousins. They could let this situation play out and wait until mid-season to move him when a desperate team is looking for a veteran signal caller. Depending on the asking price, it would be wise for the Browns to sit this one out and try to find their new quarterback in free agency, since overpaying for an aging quarterback has rarely been a positive move for a team in the past. Could Von Miller be an emergency solution for the Falcons' pass rush? The Atlanta Falcons' search for reinforcements to improve their pass rush continues, but the market is increasingly complicated. The team has already seen several of its potential targets negotiate million-dollar contracts with other franchises, which makes the mission of strengthening the defensive line even more difficult. In the first wave of free agency, the values paid for edge rushers skyrocketed. A recent example was the 3-year, $42 million contract signed by DeMarcus Lawrence, showing how inflated the position is. Meanwhile, Max Crosby and Myles Garrett were removed from the list of possible reinforcements after signing lucrative extensions with their respective teams. Garrett's contract, in particular, redefined the market and guaranteed his stay in Cleveland. Given this scenario, the Falcons have made only one significant addition to the position so far. Leonard Floyd, signed after being released by the San Francisco 49ers amid roster adjustments. While Floyd is an interesting piece and could contribute consistently, he's not exactly the star that Atlanta's defense still needs. With options increasingly scarce, one name that's emerging as a possibility is veteran Von Miller, the Super Bowl 50 MVP and one of the most dominant pass rushers of the last decade. Von Miller, solution or risky bet? First and foremost, you need to have realistic expectations. Von Miller is no longer the player who terrorized quarterbacks in his Denver Broncos days. Injuries and age have slowed his production, and his recent stint with the Buffalo Bills has been marked by ups and downs. However, that doesn't mean he can't be a useful piece in Atlanta. Miller still has the ability to generate pressure in key moments, especially in a rotation that maximizes his impact without requiring him to be a full-time starter on every snap. If the Falcons can't pull off a trade for Trey Hendrickson or Micah Parsons, something that has been suggested, given the current market, an alternative could be to take a chance on Miller and fill out the roster with other affordable veterans. What's the best strategy for the Falcons? Given their financial difficulties and defensive needs, the Falcons could take a more pragmatic approach. Instead of making a single big signing, they could invest in some urgent, experienced veterans to build a solid, deep pass rush. This would also allow them to use their first-round draft pick to select a promising young edge rusher, ensuring a balance between the present and the future. The big downside to this approach is that it limits draft flexibility, as it could force Atlanta to pick a pass rusher in the first round, even if other elite talent is available. The second round still needs reinforcements, and a high-level safety or cornerback would also make a big difference for the defense. With limited cap space and multiple defensive needs, the Falcons will have to be strategic. If a team believes that adding veterans like Von Miller can help develop a more consistent group, that might be a more viable solution. After all, experience and leadership are essential to molding a young roster, and Miller could be exactly the kind of piece Atlanta needs to take the next step toward building a competitive defense.